New ultra simple witch farm for Minecraft Bedrock Edition. You can build this farm in just a couple of minutes and it produces over 4,600 items per hour, including an absolute ton of redstone dust, gunpowder, other potion ingredients, and actual potions. This witch farm is incredibly easy to build, super cheap, and I'll even be showing you how to build a full storage system for it as well, including auto crafting for redstone blocks, main storage, overflow, and auto trash can for leftover potions. So as you can see, we have witches spawning inside the farm, and they're just chilling out right there until you turn on the trident killer. I have a temporary storage system down below here just for the basics. So as you see, you're going to be getting a ton of different potion materials from this, tons of gunpowder and glowstone and all the other witch drops, including speed, water breathing, and even some health potions too. And then we also get basically an entire double chest worth of redstone every hour as well, taking us to a total of 4,600 items every hour of using the farm. It's actually insane. So this farm is incredibly quick thanks to our trapdoor trident killer. It's on a comparator clock, so if we turn this on real quick, you can see that all of our witches die super quickly. Now we are using a sculk catylyst right here that destroys the experience from the witches. That way it doesn't cause any lag and back up the witches, because the XP orbs can actually bounce off of the witches and push them away from the trident killer. So this helps speed up the farm and get us more items. Witches also don't really drop that much experience, so it's not really worth piping it all the way up to the AFK spot. If you're looking for a good experience farm, build like a silverfish experience farm or a guardian farm, since they will just give you insane amounts of levels very quickly. Another bonus of witch farms is you really don't need to do any spawn proofing. I put around just a couple of torches, and because we're AFKing so far above the farm, basically nothing else is going to spawn in the area. Of course, we also have a roof above the AFK spot to prevent phantoms from spawning, meaning that you can AFK here for as long as you want. And then sometimes you get some frogs to spawn on top of the build as well. They don't hurt anything, they're just existing, living their best life. Make sure that you don't kill any of the frogs or anything in the area though, because the farm will get very upset. There is a sculk sensor in there and it will spread things if you kill stuff outside of the farm. It's uncommon, but you can have other mobs spawn inside your farm, like creepers, skeletons, zombies, etc. And that's why sometimes you'll see some extra drops down here in your storage system. It doesn't affect anything, and I didn't count it towards the rate, but if you see some random junk in here, that's why. And with that, if you enjoyed these types of Bedrock Edition tutorials, then subscribe, but otherwise, let's hop into it. This farm is so simple and cheap to build that this is the exact materials list right here. As you can see, you need less than a stack of blocks, and all these other things are pretty self-explanatory. You will be needing some torches for the surrounding areas, and if you want to be able to look into the farm, then you'll need a couple pieces of tinted glass. You might also need some glass panes to find the spawning spot, and a locator map or a sunflower to find direction. You'll also be needing a trident, ideally with impaling 5, and any sword with the looting 3 enchantment. That way you get the best rates from the farm. And if you want a full storage and sorting system, these are all the materials you'll need for it, including some renamed filler items that stack to 64. Depending on your luck, you might also need some filler blocks to fill in the water around your witch hut. If you haven't found a witch hut in your world yet, then go to the website chunkabase.com and head over to the apps section. You need to put in your world seed and select the correct version of Minecraft, and then you can select the witch hut icon right here. As you can see on the map, this is going to tell you where all the witch huts in your world are. It can also tell you where the ancient cities and the deep dark biome is, in case you need help finding yourself a sculk catylyst. Once you found yourself a witch hut, we need to find out where the spawn spot is. Now these things are basically all the same, so the spawn spot should always be 2 blocks ahead of where that crafting table is, so it should always be right here. Now if you need help finding the spawn spot, what you can do is you can put a block up and then put in a bunch of glass panes in this room, and then witches will actually spawn in between these glass panes, and that'll help you find out where the spawn spot is in case someone has been here before or they tore it down or something. Now it can be kind of difficult to get them to spawn in there, and that is because the mechanics are a bit weird. So if your witch hut is surrounded by water, then you're going to get pretty bad rates. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to actually build up the land around this so that it is kind of like what I showed earlier in the video. As you can see, I just built up a little bit of land around it. It doesn't need to be anything too special, but don't slab this area because that can also affect the rates of your witch farm. Instead, just go ahead and put down some torches in the area. So now we're going to actually install the AFK spot. That way we can confirm that our spawning spot is correct. So you need to find out the Y layer of this floor of your witch hut. So for me, that's Y layer 65. We're going to be going 42 blocks above this block right here. So for me, 65 and 42 equals 100. 107, and that is where my AFK platform is going to be. And this block right here is directly above the spawning spot of our witch hut. So you can do anything that you want with this AFK spot, but you'll probably need yourself a way up there, like a ladder or something. And if you're playing on Sim 6 or above, then you might need to actually raise up your AFK spot. That way nothing spawns in the caves below you. I removed some of the blocks from the roof of my witch hut, and because it is currently nighttime out, we actually got some witches to spawn in there. So if you pull out yourself a locator map, your little icon right there is the white dot, and the top of the map is going to be north. So the upper left corner of the map is northwest. Now, witches and other structure spawns always spawn on the northwest corner of the spawning spot, and that is why they spawn in between these glass panes. So this right here is the northwest corner of the spawning spot, and bam, we've now confirmed that this is exactly where the witches are spawning. And now it's time to build up the actual farm itself. So this is our spawning spot right here, and we're going to place in some blocks on the eastern side and the southern side of it, just like that. Just a nice little corner shape. Place in yourself a scaffolding right above your spawning spot, and then we need some glass blocks in the corner like here. We're going to place in another layer of glass blocks right there, a solid block right there, and then you want to actually fill in this window. We're going to turn around and just completely fill in this entire back portion of the room, and then we're going to turn around and have ourselves one more solid block right there as well. Now we're going to place in a water bucket right here. This should be flowing towards the northwest corner, towards your spawning spot there. So now we're just going to go ahead and put in some solid blocks in this area, 2 solid blocks right there, and then a glass block right above that piece of water, and then 2 more glass blocks right here. Now grab out yourself a trapdoor, and we're going to place it facing this direction so the hinge is up on that side like so. And now you can just go ahead and fill in the roof blocks above all of your solid blocks like so. And if you want to, we can cover up this little hole right here with some tinted glass. That way you can actually see into the build. We'll come back to this in a moment, but for now we need to go ahead and fill in all the windows around here. So you can fill in this one, and if you want to be able to see into the side of the build, which I would highly recommend, you can replace these blocks right here with some tinted glass. Otherwise, just fill them in with planks. That way it blocks the light. So going around, make sure there's no holes on the other sides of the build. And of course, this window should already be filled in. Now, you need to grab in yourself a sculk catylyst. We're going to put that right here. It should be a block gap between the front post of the building right here. We're also going to break out this block and this one. Place in a couple of planks right here. And now we're going to grab ourselves a comparator, place that in right there, activate that. That way it's in subtract mode with the little light on. And then I'm going to put a temporary lever right here underneath the sculk catylyst, so that way it actually powers it. So flick that lever, put in a couple pieces of redstone dust. That should be flashing. Now flip around to the front of the build. We're going to fill in this fence post with a plank to block out the light. We're also going to put in a couple of blocks right there. So now go ahead and break out these 2 logs right here and this plank, and just put in yourself 2 pieces of redstone dust. And you should hear that trapdoor getting activated and see that flipping up and down and going crazy. If it's not moving back and forth, then make sure that all of your redstone is done correctly. This block should be right next to your trapdoor. So now go ahead and turn off your redstone. We're going to throw a trident onto this trapdoor right here. So just throw it onto the very edge right there, and it should be pretty good to go. And now you can go ahead and turn on your lever down here, and you should hear that trident. It's very annoying sounding. You can't miss it. So once that's in there, just go ahead and fill in that last piece of tinted glass, and now witches can actually spawn in there as soon as you go up to your AFK spot. So if we stand up here for a second, you'll probably see witches spawn just about instantly, and if they don't, then give it a second. Sometimes it's just a little bit slow. Of course, you need to be holding a looting 3 sword while you're AFKing. That way it applies the looting effect to all the witches that are in your farm. That's going to give you 2.5 times better rates from your build. And while you're up here, you should also install a solid block roof somewhere above your AFK spot, and put some slabs on top of this. If you have solid blocks above you, then no phantoms can spawn. Now keep in mind, with this trident killer, if you relog or leave the game or get disconnected while it's running, then your trident is going to fall down and you will have to rethrow it. So make sure that you just always turn off this trident killer before you leave the area. Now another thing I've heard is that having the stairs on the edges of the witch hut can actually help slow down the rates of your farm, just due to how structures spawn in general. I don't have a good way of confirming that, but if you chop off the stairs and make it look ugly, then maybe it'll spawn some more guys for you. And if you want to, you can actually change up the redstone to be like this on the front porch to make that lever a little bit more accessible, but it's entirely optional. So first things first is just some basic temporary storage for those of you who just want to get the build going. So just place in yourself a hopper directly underneath your spawning spot right there. I have that going into a chest. You're going to need yourself a couple of rails to redirect this thing. Put in yourself a block right there, hopper minecart, that's going to pick up all the items from our farm and put them into our storage, and then you just need another block right here, that way the hopper cart doesn't go anywhere. That is technically all you need for storage, and you can run the farm for probably about half an hour or so before it fills up this chest. And now for actually upgrading and improving your storage system, so you're still going to need that hopper minecart and the hopper right there, but we're going to remove the chest, and we're going to mine out a pretty substantial area to the side over here. So this is the total area that I mined out. It looks a little bit big, so you want to mine the entire area going down by 4 blocks. That way you have enough room for your item slices. From our hopper minecart in the middle, we need 7 hoppers going over for all of our slices as well. And then we also need 4 blocks going back for the slices. Everything on the front here is just for your chests and for your actual walking space, so you can make that as large as you want. So starting from our hopper minecart right here, we're going to have a hopper going down to the side. Of course, we have our 7 hoppers there. So below this hopper, we're going to have a hopper facing backwards, and this is where we install our first item sorter right here. So you need to build it up exactly as shown right here. Everything needs to be built just like this. So it's a pretty straightforward little design right there, and of course we have a redstone torch on the bottom. Now we're gonna get in ourselves a couple of double chests on the front right here, and then 2 hoppers facing into the backs of those chests as well. And that is 1 item slice completely done. In total, you're going to need 7 of these. This first one is going to be for your redstone blocks, since we're going to have an auto crafter to the left of it. And then, of course, we have all the other items that you can see right here. Now, the final slice will not have an item sorter on it. It's just going to be random potions and other junk. So once you have your first slice set up, I would recommend that you just go ahead and expand it to the side. So I'm going to put in 6 additional blocks right there, 6 blocks into the floor, and then you just kind of run along the redstone. It's really easy to just tile these things to the side once you have one of them built up, so it doesn't take much effort at all. So that is the body of the build completely done. Now we need to go on the front and install the comparators, so make sure these are facing the correct direction, otherwise it will not work. And they do not need to be on subtract mode. With your hoppers, you need to go ahead and crouch and place those facing into the comparator right there. Otherwise, again, this will break. And once we have that done, we can go ahead and install all of our chests right here. And they're just going to be double chests going all the way across the build. And now we can install our hoppers into the backs of those chests. And now the majority of our storage system is now complete. So what it should look like on the side is basically identical to the original slice. It should be uniform all the way down, as you can see there. So now we're going to install the final slice right here, and this is going to be for our potions. So I'm going to put in 3 double chests going up like that. We're going to put 3 hoppers going into the backs of those, and then at the very tail end of our original hopper line, we're just going to put in a double chest. Now it's time to install the auto dropper. This is basically just the trash can to get rid of all of your extra items. So I'm going to go ahead and place in a dropper facing to the side right here, below the bottom layer of all of our hoppers. Make sure this has got a block punched out in front of it. Now we need a comparator on the back side of it. Make sure that's on subtract mode. 2 blocks right here. We need a piece of redstone dust right there. Turn around. 2 redstone dust right there, and then a repeater right here. So now anytime that you throw some items into your dropper right here, they're going to get automatically shot out. And now we're just going to put in a piece of lava right here, and that is going to destroy any excess items that don't go into your overflow. So now I'm going to put in a hopper right here, chest above it, and then 1 hopper underneath this double chest right here. We're just using an extra chest in the middle to save ourselves some resources. So now go over to your first slice right here. This is going to be for our redstone blocks. We're actually going to break out these 2 hoppers right here, since we're going to be filling up this chest from the side. So we're going to place in ourselves an auto crafter right here, and then we need a couple of hoppers going into the side of it, just like so. Of course, make sure that you are crouching when you place those. Now on the back side of this, we're going to need a comparator on subtract mode going into a block. We also need a comparator on the side of it, like so. And then you need yourself a composter right here. Now we need to completely fill up that composter with some compost until it turns into the little white layer on top there, and that is going to give us the proper signal strength to make this thing auto craft. Now go ahead and get yourself a redstone torch on top of that block, a couple of blocks above and to the side of it, a piece of redstone dust right there, and then another redstone torch. Now we need some hoppers going into the sides of our double chest, and one more right there. This is going to take all of the redstone from your farm, auto-craft it into redstone blocks, and then put it into storage for you. Now you need to configure all your item filters. Now make sure you do this properly, otherwise it won't sort and things might break. So I'm going to be laying things out in this order right here. So it's going to be redstone dust, gunpowder, glowstone, sugar, sticks, bottles, and spider eyes, but you can rearrange any of these middle 6. Anyway, so for our first slice right here, I'm just going to put in a piece of redstone dust, and then we need 4 filler items right here. I would recommend that these are just a random item that you've renamed in an anvil, and then you just go down the line. So we're going to have ourselves a piece of gunpowder in there, and then a glowstone dust right here, and I think you kind of get the idea. So that is your complete storage system done, and everything is now set up properly. I'd recommend that you go ahead and AFK for about 10 minutes or so to make sure that your auto crafter is working, everything is going into the correct slot, and you're getting things into your overflow. And of course, you can extend this room downwards to get more chests, which I would highly recommend, and you should also probably like cover up this area with a layer of blocks, that way nothing gets in here. If you enjoyed this Bedrock tutorial, then subscribe so you don't miss future tutorials. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys down in the comments and in the next one.